Hey and welcome to the BMW M2 guide on Oulton Park International and iRacing. At the time of making this video the car is barely a week old, but I can already tell you that it's quite unique. It's very punishing and understeery when you overdrive the corner entries, which takes some time to get used to, which is why I would recommend you to take your time, get used to the car, practice it and race when you are ready. This is not a car which you can pick up, drive a few laps and race after 15 minutes. If you want some help in your practice sessions, then you can race against my ghost car. You can find the lap files on the community Discord, which is linked in the description down below. And you can also check the telemetry on Garage 61, which is linked in the description as well. Approach the first turn on the left edge of the track, look for the board on the left side, hit the brakes when you reach it, and prepare to shift down into 4th gear. Whenever you brake, then you don't want to engage the brakes with more than 60 to 70% pressure to stay out of the ABS. If you trigger the ABS, then you will run into two issues. Number one, the brake efficiency decreases, which means that it will take you longer to slow the car down. And number two, it will completely destroy the balance of the car and increase the understeer in the moment you try to turn in. That's why you want to brake early, use less pressure, take it easy and be patient. Another advice, which is not only important in this turn but also in general, you don't want to coast a lot with this car. When you check my inputs, then you can see that I'm transitioning from the brakes right away onto the throttle and don't coast at all. Why? Because this car doesn't really rotate that much when you are coasting. It rotates a lot when you are on the brakes and it rotates when you are back on the throttle, but when you coast then you get kinda stuck in the middle of nowhere. So maintaining some minimal inputs, be it on the brakes or on the throttle, will help you to get the car easier around the turn. I'm a bit far away from the curb here, you want to hit a tighter line around it, but the most important thing is to be aggressive on the throttle, because this helps you to turn the car around and hit a nice exit onto the upcoming straight. Use the runoff on the exit. As long as you stay with the center of the car above the colored part of the curb, then you won't receive an incident point. Position the car on the right edge of the track, hit the brakes as soon as you drive around this small bend and prepare to shift down into 4th gear. You want to aim for a clean line and trail brake deep into the turn. As mentioned before, this minimal pressure on the brakes helps you to rotate the car and get it around. You can't use the runoff on the right. As soon as you cross the white line with the center of your car, you will receive an incident point, so be careful. Position the car on the right edge of the track and use the pathway on the right side as marker. You want to give the brakes a soft touch when you reach it to adjust your speed for the upcoming left-hander. Attack the apex and maintain a soft touch on the throttle to rotate the car around. Push the car as far to the left as you can and look out for this dirty spot on the track. When you reach it, then you want to hit the brakes and shift all the way down into 3rd gear. And again, you want to trail brake, maintain some soft pressure on the brakes to rotate the car around and keep your coasting time as short as possible. As soon as you reach the apex, then you want to immediately transition onto the throttle and accelerate into the exit. When you reach this point at the exit of the hairpin, then you want to open your wheel and let the car swing to the left edge of the track. This prevents you from spinning, because if you keep the wheel engaged while going flat out, then the banking of the turn can sometimes throw your car around and send you into the grass. Hit the brakes shortly before you reach these faint dirt marks on the track, shift down into 3rd gear and prepare to attack the first inside curb. I have two pieces of advice for the chicane. Number one, you will need to brake a bit more than you think, so if you think you are over braking it, then you will probably be alright. And number two, again, you don't want to coast, so try to transition from the brakes onto the throttle right away. This makes it easier to rotate the car around the right-hander. For the next turn, you want to brake roughly 30 meters before you reach the 100 meter board on the left and shift down into 3rd gear. The next chicane is not only tight, it's also quite fast. That's why it's important that you use all available space on the entry. So try to plant your tires right onto the white line as you brake towards the turn. Aim for a tight line around the barrier and engage the throttle to push the car to the right. Turn the wheel around, aim for a tight line around the second barrier and engage the throttle again to push the car to the left. Go flat out for a split second to push the car to the left edge of the track. Lift as you turn the car around and steadily increase the pressure on the throttle as you drive over the curbs and onto the upcoming long straight. There's one thing I noticed around here, and that's that you don't want to fully lift. You always want to keep some pressure on the throttle, about 10 to 20% like you see me doing it right here. It keeps the grip levels more stable, which will make it less likely that you will spin the car on the exit, which can sometimes happen when you are too aggressive over the curbs. Push the car to the left, hit a tight line around this inside curb and hit the brakes as soon as you get past it. You want to shift into 4th gear, take your time, coast and aim for a tight line around the first inside curb. You want to get back on the throttle as soon as you reach the curb and aim for a tight line around the upcoming second inside curb. Now, you may ask, why do we want to coast this time when you mentioned so many times that coasting is bad? And it's actually quite simple. The throttle helps you to rotate the car around, and we don't want to rotate the car on the entry into this high-speed turn. If you are too aggressive on the throttle while entering this turn, then you will notice that it will be quite tough to hold the rear when you reach the exit, because the car will try to spin on you. You can prevent this and get a more stable exit by coasting on the entry and not introducing this additional rotation into the car. Hit the brakes shortly before you reach the board on the left, stick to the edge of the track and prepare to shift down into 3rd gear. Trail brake into the entry, and one last time you want to transition onto the throttle right away and accelerate towards the finish line. Enjoy the cockpit lap where you can let everything settle in. I want to thank you for your support, wish you all the best for the next weekend, see you next time.